Breaking news! Something happened in the Ravens-Browns game that almost no one is talking about, but it might be the biggest clue yet about what's really going on within this team. From strange play-calling decisions to an offense that seemed completely stalled, to a defense that might be carrying more weight than it should, there's a hidden pattern here, and if you pay attention, it tells a much bigger story about where this team is headed. We're not just analyzing a game, we're uncovering the truth about whether the Ravens were built to survive or to dominate. But before we go any further, don't forget to like this post if you're a true Ravens fan. It's always amazing to see fans of all ages supporting this team. And if you want, comment, "Go Ravens," to show you're with the fans, no matter what. First off, the offense. And yes, calling it offensive might be the most accurate word we could use here. The Ravens couldn't move the ball consistently, and even when they did, they struggled heavily to finish drives with touchdowns. This game demanded everything, and the offense gave just barely enough to get by. Lamar Jackson, he had a tough day. He was under relentless pressure, clearly not 100%, and even missed practice earlier in the week due to a sore knee. His stat line wasn't disastrous, 14 for 25, 193 yards, and 2 interceptions, but it was clear he was out of rhythm. One pick was a tipped pass off Keaton Mitchell's hands that ended in a pick six, while the other was on Lamar, hurried under pressure and throwing into a tight window. And speaking of pressure, Myles Garrett was an absolute menace. The Ravens' offensive line had no answer for him. Garrett finished with 4 sacks, and each one felt like a punch to the gut. Ronnie Stanley, Derrick Henry, Roger Rosengarten, Garrett bulldozed through all of them at some point. It was total domination by one of the NFL's most elite defenders. And it's not like the Ravens didn't try to contain him, they tried switching things up, but Garrett was on a mission, and nothing Baltimore threw at him worked. Despite all that, Lamar didn't have to be Superman in this game, and that might be the most refreshing part of all this. For years, if Lamar wasn't putting up video game numbers, the Ravens weren't winning. But this game proved something different. Yes, it was ugly. Yes, it was a grind. But the Ravens won without Lamar having to carry the team, and that speaks volumes. It's what teams like the Chiefs and Eagles do all the time, win when their QB isn't at his best. This time, Baltimore did the same. Now, let's talk about the run game. Derrick Henry, 18 carries, 103 yards, 1 touchdown. But here's the thing, it didn't feel like a 100-yard game. Most of that came from one explosive 59-yard run. Outside of that, it was a grind. But what stood out was that Todd Monken and this coaching staff didn't give up on him. Every carry wasn't a highlight, but they kept feeding him, and eventually, it paid off. That's commitment. And then there's Keaton Mitchell. He had a rough start with the drop pass that led to a pick six, but fans calling for him to be benched? Come on. He finished with 6 carries for 31 yards and was active in the passing game too. He's got juice, and the Ravens need to keep developing him. Justice Hill was out, and Mitchell got his chance, and despite the early mistake, he showed he belongs on the field. And how about Mark Andrews? We've seen him make big catches, but a rushing touchdown? That trick play, the Hurricane, on 4th and 1, where Andrews faked the handoff and ran it in himself, might have been the play of the game. It was creative, unexpected, and executed to perfection. Some fans might say it's sad when your best offensive play comes from a tight end rush, but honestly, it was genius. Credit to Monken for pulling that one out of the bag. The passing game was limited, but efficient when it needed to be. Zay Flowers? Only 3 catches, but they totaled 78 yards and were all critical. He had 1 drop, but overall, he made big plays when they were needed most. Mark Andrews added 32 yards on 3 catches, all in clutch moments. Derrick Henry and Keaton Mitchell even got involved through the air, which was a nice wrinkle. Now, let's pivot to the defense. Zachary deserves all the credit. This unit has been on fire lately, and even without Marlon Humphrey, they stepped up again. Yes, it was against rookie QBs Dylan Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, but this defense made them look like rookies. That's what elite defenses are supposed to do. Nate Wiggins came away with another pick. Kyle Hamilton was everywhere, again, and even though he dropped an interception, he was in the right place at the right time, blowing up plays and injecting swagger into the unit. That sack celebration mocking Shedeur Sanders? Old school Ravens energy. The pass rush was solid. Draymond Jones hasn't gotten home for a sack yet, but he's creating havoc, and Kyle Van Noy showed up after being quiet for much of the season. This unit is starting to click, and just like we saw earlier in the year when opponents were finding holes in the secondary, those gaps are gone now. When offenses make plays, there's usually a defender right there in coverage, making it tough. That's coaching. That's effort. That's execution. Because here's the thing, Ravens fans, winning ugly can only take you so far. Yes, it's encouraging that the Ravens proved they don't need Lamar Jackson to go nuclear just to win a football game. Yes, it's great that Derrick Henry is finally being used properly in the offense. Yes, it's absolutely promising that the defense is beginning to look like it belongs in the conversation with the league's best. But when you peel back the layers and look closer at this Browns game, there are deeper concerns that can't be ignored, especially with the stretch of opponents coming up. Let's start with the offensive line. If the Ravens are serious about making a postseason run, the pass protection has to improve. You cannot have a former MVP quarterback get sacked 5 times, 4 of those coming from the same player, and expect that to be sustainable. Myles Garrett is elite, no question, but when the protection collapses over and over again, it becomes a trend, not an exception. And in the playoffs, where every drive matters and defenses get even more aggressive, that kind of breakdown could cost this team dearly. Ronnie Stanley, Derrick Henry, and pass pro Rosengarten, they all had moments in this game where they were just overwhelmed. The problem isn't just about talent. It's about adjustments. Where are the chips from tight ends? Where are the quick throws to neutralize the rush? These are the kinds of tactical moves you need to see from Todd Monken, and they were largely absent on Sunday. Speaking of Monken, his play calling continues to be an enigma. One week he looks like an offensive genius dialing up creativity and unpredictability. The next week, like this one, you get long stretches of plays that feel too predictable, too slow to adapt, too reactive. The over-reliance on shotgun runs in short yardage situations, especially against a defense like Cleveland's, was frustrating. Yes, there were flashes of brilliance, like the Mark Andrews Hurricane touchdown, but they were rare. The offense feels like it's being held together with duct tape and improvisation more than a well-oiled, cohesive plan. And that's where the concern deepens. Because this is week 11. This is the time when elite teams start to peak, not sputter. The best teams in the NFL are refining their execution, building chemistry, and stacking dominant performances. The Ravens, they're still figuring themselves out, still working around issues that should have been resolved weeks ago. Now, let's not forget the positives. The defense, under Zach Orr, is playing with a purpose and a confidence that wasn't there earlier this season. They're making stops in the red zone, forcing turnovers, and hitting the quarterback. And not just pressuring, finishing star. That's a massive shift. And you can see the swagger growing in this group. Kyle Hamilton's fire, Nate Wiggins' consistency, Draymond Jones and Kyle Van Noy showing up in the pass rush. These aren't just isolated performances. This unit is coming together at exactly the right time. The question now is whether this defense can carry the team if the offense continues to underperform. Because in today's NFL, you need balance. Even the most dominant defenses eventually hit a wall when they don't get enough help from the offense. Ask the 2019 Bears. Ask the 2015 Broncos. They won a Super Bowl, but it took every ounce of effort from their defense to get them over the line. And then there's the special teams. Tyler Lue has quietly been one of the most clutch additions to this roster. He's calm under pressure, accurate, and consistent. You can see the confidence growing every time he lines up. That 3-4-3 performance? Absolutely critical. But we also have to talk about Leonte Wester's fumble. Yes, the defense bailed him out, but those are the kind of errors that can completely shift a playoff game. One mistake, one turnover in the wrong moment, and your season ends. The Ravens cannot afford to have lapses like that. And as we turn to the upcoming stretch, Jets, Bengals, Steelers, all at home, the Ravens have an opportunity to get healthy, to get right, to finally put together a complete performance in all 3 phases of the game. These are the types of games where momentum is built, where rhythm is found, and where playoff seeds are secured. But they'll need more than just grit, more than just defensive stands and field goals. They'll need Lamar Jackson to be sharp again. They'll need the offensive line to show pride and push back. They'll need Monken to get back in his bag and scheme like it's January. And maybe most importantly, they'll need to prove to themselves